Maya Rodriguez stepped off the transport shuttle and looked around Station Omega 7. The massive space station stretched out in all directions, its metal walls gleaming under the artificial lights. Ships of every shape and size moved through the yaw. Docking bays, their engines humming with different sounds and colors. She had never seen so many alien vessels in one place. Her boots clicked against the metal floor as she walked toward the main corridor. Other beings moved around her, some tall and thin with blue skin, others covered in scales that sparkled like jewels. A few looked almost human, but had extra arms or strange markings on their faces. Maya kept her expression calm and professional. Even though everything around her was new and exciting, the Void Hawks squadron office was located in the military section of the station. Maya found it easily by following the signs on the walls. She pressed the door control and stepped inside. The room was larger than she expected, with several desks and chairs that looked like they could fit different types of beings. Maps of star systems covered the walls, and weapon displays showed off the latest galactic technology. 3 pilots sat around a table near the center of the room. They looked up when Maya entered, and she could see curiosity in their eyes. The first was tall with pale blue skin and no hair. His name tag read Captain Nexver. The second had a body that seemed to be made of living crystal, reflecting light in rainbow patterns. This was Sub-Commander Quell. The third looked like a cross between a human and a lizard, with thick scales and sharp teeth. His name tag showed Grick Star. "You must be the new human pilot," Captain Nexver said, standing up. His voice was smooth, but had a tone that suggested he was not impressed. "I am Captain Nexver of the Zephyrian Fleet. We have heard about your arrival." Maya saluted. "Properly. Lieutenant Commander Maya Rodriguez, reporting for duty, sir." The crystal being Sub-Commander Quell spoke next. Her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "We have reviewed your service record. It shows adequate performance in basic training and some combat experience in the outer colonies. However, this squadron handles much more dangerous missions." The lizard-like pilot, Grickstar, made a sound that might have been laughter. "Humans always think they are ready for real combat. We have seen many of your kind come and go. Most do not last long when facing true enemies." Maya kept her face neutral, though she felt a spark of annoyance. "I understand this is an elite squadron. I am here to do my job and support the mission. Your job will be simple patrols and escort duties," Captain Nexver said, walking around his desk. "Nothing too challenging while you learn how we operate. The real combat missions require experience in ships that can handle serious threats." Through the large window behind the captain, Maya could see the docking bay where her ship waited. The Wildfire looked small compared to the sleek alien vessels around it. Its hull was a mix of different metals, welded together in patterns that seemed random, compared to the smooth, flowing lines of the Zephyrian fighters or the geometric perfection of the crystalline ships. Her vessel looked like something built in a scrapyard. "Speaking of ships," Sub-Commander Quell said, following Maya's gaze, "yours is quite unusual. The design does not match any standard human military vessel in our database." Maya smiled slightly. "I made some modifications during my time in the outer colonies. The standard designs needed improvements for the conditions out there." Grickstar snorted. "Modifications? Humans always think they can improve designs that have worked for centuries. Your ship looks like it was built from spare parts." "Sometimes spare parts work better than factory parts," Maya replied calmly. "It depends on what you need the ship to do." Captain Nexver picked up a data pad and handed it to Maya. "Here are your patrol routes for the next week. Stay on the designated paths and report any unusual activity. Do not engage hostile forces without backup, unless absolutely necessary." Maya looked over the routes. They were all in safe areas, far from the dangerous sectors where pirates and enemy forces operated. These were the kind of missions given to new pilots who could not be trusted with real responsibility. Understood, sir. Good. Report to the flight deck at 0800 tomorrow for your first patrol. Dismissed. Maya saluted again and left the office. As the door closed behind her, she could hear the three pilots talking in low voices. She caught words like inexperienced and liability before their voices faded away. The walk to her quarters gave Maya time to think. She had expected this reaction. Human pilots were not common in the galactic military, and those who did serve often struggled to prove themselves. The other species had centuries of space combat experience, while humans had only been part of the galactic community for a few decades. Her quarters were small but comfortable, with a bed, desk, and small viewing port that looked out into space. Maya sat on the bed and looked at the patrol routes again. They were boring assignments, the kind meant to keep her out of the way while the real pilots handled important missions. She thought about her ship, the Wildfire, waiting in the docking bay. Let them think it was just a collection of spare parts. Let them believe she was just another inexperienced human pilot. Maya had learned long ago that being underestimated could be an advantage. The next morning, Maya arrived at the flight deck early. The hangar was busy with activity as ground crews prepared ships for the day's missions. She found the Wildfire in its assigned berth, looking small and rough compared to the other fighters around it. A young technician approached her. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez? I'm Pete Johnson, your assigned ground crew chief. I have to say, your ship is unlike anything I've ever worked on. The power readings are all over the place, and some of these components don't match anything. In our manuals? Maya ran her hand along the ship's hull. She's a bit unusual, but she gets the job done. Have you found any problems? No problems, just questions. The engine design is completely different from standard human ships. Where did you get the parts for this? I built most of them myself, Maya said, opening the cockpit hatch. When you're stationed in the outer colonies, you learn to make do with what you have. The cockpit was cramped, but efficient. Every control was exactly where Maya needed it to be, customized for her reach and reflexes. She ran through the startup sequence, and the ship's systems came online with smooth efficiency. Flight control, this is Wildfire requesting permission to depart, she said into her comm unit. Wildfire, you are cleared for departure. Follow designated patrol route Alpha 7. Contact us if you encounter any problems. Maya guided her ship out of the hangar and into open space. The stars stretched out in all directions, and she felt the familiar thrill of being in her element. Behind her, Station Omega 7 grew smaller as she headed toward her assigned patrol area. She knew the other pilots were probably watching her departure, making jokes about the little human and her cobbled-together ship. Let them laugh. Maya had a feeling that their opinions would change very soon. Maya had been flying patrol routes for 3 days when she received her first real challenge. She was cruising through the Meridian sector, a quiet area where nothing important ever happened, when her sensors picked up unusual energy signatures. 4 ships were moving fast toward a civilian transport convoy, and their weapons were charging. Flight control, this is Wildfire. I have 4 unknown vessels approaching convoy Delta 9. They appear to be hostile. The voice that came back sounded bored. Copy, Wildfire. Monitor the situation and report developments. Do not engage without backup. Maya watched her screen as the unknown ships closed in on the convoy. The transport vessels were slow and defenseless, carrying families and supplies to the outer colonies. The attacking ships had the lean, aggressive look of pirate raiders. Flight control, the unknown vessels are opening fire on the convoy. The transports are taking damage. Wildfire, maintain your distance and wait for backup. Repeat, do not engage. Maya looked at her scanner. The nearest backup was 20 minutes away. By then, the convoy would be destroyed or captured. She made her decision. Flight control, I am moving to engage. The convoy cannot wait for backup. Wildfire, you are ordered to maintain your position. Do not engage. Maya switched off her comm and pushed her throttle forward. The Wildfire shot toward the battle with surprising speed. On the bridge of Station Omega-7, the flight controller turned to Squadron Leader Velther. Sir, the human pilot is engaging 4 pirate ships alone. Should we send immediate backup? Velthar, an Altarian with gray skin and wise eyes, looked at the tactical display. She will be dead before help arrives. But we cannot abandon her. Launch the ready squadron. In the squadron office, Captain Thexvar, Sub-Commander Quell, and Grixstar watched the battle unfold on their screens. They expected to see Maya's ship destroyed within minutes. Foolish human, Grixstar muttered. She thinks courage can overcome superior numbers. 4 against 1, Sub-Commander Quell observed. Even experienced pilots would struggle with those odds. Captain Thexvar said nothing, but his eyes were fixed on the screen. Something about Maya's ship movement looked wrong. The Wildfire was moving faster than it should be able to, and its flight path was unlike anything he had seen before. Maya approached the pirates from below, using the convoy ships as cover. The pirate vessels were focused on their prey and did not notice her until she was almost on top of them. When she opened fire, the sound that came through the comm channels was unlike anything the squadron had heard before. Instead of the high-pitched whine of energy weapons, there was a deep, rhythmic thumping. The pirates' shields, designed to stop plasma bolts and laser beams, flickered and failed as solid projectiles tore through them. The first pirate ship exploded in a shower of metal and fire. What kind of weapons is she using? Captain Thexvar asked, leaning forward. Sub-Commander Quell was analyzing the sensor data. They appear to be kinetic projectiles. Solid metal fired at extremely high velocity. I have never seen anything like it. The second pirate ship tried to turn and face Maya, but her ship was already gone. The Wildfire moved with impossible agility, spinning and diving in ways that should have torn it apart. Maya came up behind the pirate and fired again. More solid projectiles punched through the enemy's hull, and the ship broke apart. How is she moving like that? Grixstar demanded. No ship that size should be able to handle those kinds of forces. The third pirate ship fired everything it had at Maya, but she was not where the shots went. Her ship seemed to dance between the energy bolts, moving in 3 dimensions, like it was flying through water instead of space. Maya returned fire, and the pirate ship joined its companions in destruction. The fourth pirate ship decided to run. Its captain knew when he was outmatched, and this strange human ship was beyond his understanding. He turned and ran at full speed. But Maya was faster. She caught up with the fleeing vessel and disabled its engines with precise shots. The pirate ship drifted helplessly, its crew surrendering over the comm channels. Flight control, this is Wildfire. 4 pirate vessels have been neutralized, 3 destroyed, 1 captured. The convoy is safe. There was a long pause before the response came. Copy, Wildfire. Return to base for debriefing. Maya guided her ship back toward the station, leaving the disabled pirate vessel for the patrol ships to collect. Behind her, the convoy continued. On its way, safe from harm. In the squadron office, the 3 alien pilots stared at their screens in silence. Captain Thexvar was the first to speak. That was not possible. No single fighter should be able to defeat 4 pirates so easily. Sub-Commander Quell was still studying the sensor data. Her ship's power output spiked during the battle. The readings are beyond anything I have seen from a human vessel. Grickstar shook his head. She got lucky. Pirates are not real warriors. Against trained military pilots, she would not survive. But even as he said it, Grickstar did not sound convinced. He had seen the way Maya's ship moved, and it was like nothing in his experience. When Maya returned to the station, she found a crowd waiting in the hangar. Word of the battle had spread quickly, and everyone wanted to see the human pilot who had defeated 4 pirates single-handed. Maya ignored the attention and focused on her post-flight checks. Pete Johnson, her ground crew chief, was waiting with a puzzled expression. "Lieutenant Commander, I have been looking at your ship's performance data. The power levels during the battle were incredible. How did you generate that much energy?" Maya smiled. "The engine runs a bit hot sometimes, nothing to worry about. But the readings show power output that should be impossible for a ship this size. And these kinetic weapons, where did they come from? I told you, I made some modifications. The standard human weapons were not effective enough for the outer colonies." Before Pete could ask more questions, Squadron Leader Velther approached. The Altarian commander looked at Maya with new respect. "Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, that was impressive flying. However, you disobeyed direct orders by engaging the pirates." Maya stood at attention. "Sir, the convoy was in immediate danger. I made a tactical decision based on the situation. Your decision saved lives. But in the future, you will follow orders unless the circumstances are truly desperate." "Understood, sir." Velther looked at the wildfire, taking in its rough appearance and strange design. "Your ship performed beyond our expectations. We will need to review its capabilities for future mission assignments." After the commander left, Maya continued her post-flight routine. She could feel eyes on her from all directions, but she ignored them. The other pilots were whispering among themselves, and she caught fragments of their conversations. "Did you? See how fast she moved. Those weapons tore right through their shields. Maybe humans are not as weak as we thought." Captain Thexver approached her as she was finishing her checks. The Zephyrian pilot looked less arrogant than before, but Maya could see he was still skeptical. "That was good flying today," he said. "But pirates are not our most dangerous enemies. Real combat is much more challenging." Maya looked at him calmly. "I understand that, sir. I am ready for whatever comes next. We will see. Tomorrow, you will join us on a more challenging patrol. Try to keep up." As Captain Thexvar walked away, Maya allowed herself a small smile. The first test was complete, and she had passed. But she knew the real challenges were still ahead. The other pilots were starting to take notice, but they still saw her as a lucky rookie who had stumbled onto success. Maya finished her checks and headed to her quarters. Tomorrow would bring new tests, and she would be ready for them. The wildfire had shown only a fraction of its capabilities, and Maya had been careful not to reveal too much. But word was spreading through the squadron that the new human pilot was more than she appeared to be. In the squadron office, Sub-Commander Quell was still studying the battle data. The energy readings from Maya's ship made no sense according to everything she knew about human technology. There were secrets hidden in that rough-looking vessel, and Quell was determined to figure them out. The emergency alarm echoed through Station Omega 7 at 0347 hours, jolting Maya from sleep. Red lights flashed in the corridors as she ran toward the squadron office. Other pilots were already gathering when she arrived, their faces serious in. The harsh emergency lighting Squadron Leader Velther stood at the main display, his gray skin looking pale under the red glow. "We have received a distress call from Mining Colony 77 Alpha. They are under attack by a full Marauder battle group. 6 heavy destroyers and supporting fighters." Captain Thexver studied the tactical display. "That is a massive force. For a mining colony, what could they want there?" The colony produces rare metals used in advanced weapon systems, Velther explained. If the Marauders capture it, they will have resources to expand their operations significantly. Sub-Commander. Quell's crystalline form reflected the red lights as she spoke. 6 destroyers against our squadron of 4 fighters. The mathematics are not favorable. Grixtar growled low in his throat. Marauders are cowards who prey on the weak, but they are dangerous when gathered in large numbers. Maya looked at the display showing the enemy force. Each Marauder destroyer was 3 times the size of the largest coalition fighter, armed with enough weapons to level a small city. The fighters supporting them were fast and deadly, piloted by mercenaries who fought for profit rather than honor. I am calling for reinforcements, Velther said, but the nearest fleet is 4 hours away. The colony will be destroyed by then. What about evacuation? Captain Nexfer asked. The colony has 30,000 inhabitants. Their transport capacity is limited. Most will be left behind. Maya stepped forward. Sir, request permission to scout the enemy position. If we can create a diversion, it might buy time for the evacuation. Velther looked at her with surprise. Lieutenant Commander, this is not a pirate raid. These are military-grade destroyers with experienced crews. A single fighter cannot survive against such odds. With respect, sir, I am not suggesting a direct attack. Just reconnaissance to assess their weaknesses. Grixtar made a sound of disbelief. Reconnaissance? You mean suicide. No fighter can get close enough to steady 6 destroyers and live. Maya met his gaze steadily. Let me try. If I can find a way to disrupt their formation, it might create opportunities for the evacuation. Captain Nexfer shook his head. This is madness. Even if you could somehow survive the approach, what could one ship do against such overwhelming force? You would be surprised what one ship can accomplish with the right motivation. Maya replied. Velther considered her words. The situation was desperate, and desperate times called for desperate measures. Very well. But this is reconnaissance only. Do not engage unless you have no choice. Understood, sir. 20 minutes later, Maya was in space, flying toward mining colony 77 Alpha. The journey would take 2 hours at maximum speed, and she used the time to study everything she could about Marauder, tactics, and destroyer capabilities. The colony appeared on her sensors as a cluster of industrial structures built into a large asteroid. Ships were already fleeing the area, carrying as many people as possible. But Maya could see the enemy forces closing in, their weapons charging for the final assault. The Marauder battle group was impressive and terrifying. 6 massive destroyers moved in perfect formation, their hulls bristling with weapons. Smaller fighters flew around them like deadly insects, searching for any sign of resistance. Maya activated her passive sensors and began her approach. She kept her ship's power output low, hoping to avoid detection until she was close enough to make a difference. The wildfire drifted toward the enemy formation like a piece of space debris dot at Station Omega 7. The other pilots watched Maya's progress on their screens. Her ship appeared as a small dot moving toward certain destruction. She is going to die, Grixtar said quietly, and her death will accomplish nothing. Sub-Commander Quell was monitoring the sensor data. Her power signature is almost invisible. How is she masking her emissions so effectively? Captain Nexfer did not answer. He was watching Maya's ship with growing concern and something that might have been respect. Maya was now close enough to see the details of the enemy's ships. The destroyers were old, but well-maintained, their weapon systems upgraded with modern technology. The fighter escort was alert and professional, maintaining proper formation around their larger companions. She opened a com channel to the colony. Mining Colony 77 Alpha. This is Coalition Fighter Wildfire. What is your evacuation status? The response came immediately. Wildfire, this is Colony Administrator Karen Bell. We have evacuated 12,000 people, but 18,000 remain. Our transport capacity is exhausted. Maya looked at her tactical display. The Marauder forces were moving into attack position. In 10 minutes, they would begin their bombardment. The colony's defenses were minimal, designed to deter pirates, rather than military forces. Administrator Bell, prepare your people for emergency shelter. I am going to try to buy you more time. Wildfire, our sensors show 6 enemy destroyers. You cannot face that kind of force alone. Just get your people to safety. I will handle the rest. Maya closed the comm channel and took a deep breath. It was time to show what the Wildfire could really do. She activated her ship's true power systems, and the vessel transformed. The rough-looking exterior remained the same, but the energy signature changed completely. Power readings spiked far beyond anything that should be possible for a ship of that size. The Wildfire's engines began to glow with an energy that defied understanding. At the station, Sub-Commander Quell watched her instruments in amazement. That is impossible. Her power output just increased by 800%. Maya's ship accelerated toward the enemy formation with incredible speed. The Marauder fighters detected her approach and moved to intercept, but they were too slow. The Wildfire passed through their formation like a ghost, leaving confused pilots searching for a target that was no longer there. The first destroyer's captain barely had time to register the approaching threat before Maya opened fire. But these were not the same kinetic weapons she had used against the pirates. The Wildfire's true armament was something far more advanced. Beams of energy that looked like captured starlight struck the destroyer's shields. The protective barriers held for exactly 3 seconds before failing completely. The energy beams continued through the ship's hull, cutting through metal and systems as if they were made of paper. The massive destroyer broke apart in a series of explosions that lit up the asteroid field. Debris scattered in all directions, and several fighter escorts were caught in the blast. One down, Maya said to herself, already moving toward the second target. The Marauder fleet was in chaos. Their formations scattered as captains tried to understand what had just happened. A single fighter had destroyed one of their most powerful ships in seconds, using weapons that should not exist. Maya's ship moved with impossible agility, dodging the desperate fire from the remaining destroyers. Her vessel twisted and turned through 3-dimensional space, never staying in the same place long enough for the enemy weapons to lock on. The second destroyer fell to the same fate as the first. Maya's energy weapons carved through its defenses and hull, leaving nothing but wreckage and expanding gas clouds. Back at the station, the squadron office was silent, except for the hum of electronics. The 3 alien pilots stared at their screens in shock. "This cannot be happening," Captain Nexver whispered. "No single ship has that kind of power." Grickstar was speechless for the first time since Maya had known him. His warrior instincts told him that what he was seeing was impossible, but his eyes showed him the truth. Sub-Commander Quell was recording everything, her scientific mind struggling to process the data. The energy readings are beyond our current understanding of physics. Her weapons appear to be channeling power from some unknown source. Maya continued her attack, moving from target to target with methodical precision. The third destroyer tried to flee, but her ship was faster. The fourth attempted to coordinate with the remaining fighters, but Maya's weapons cut through their formation like a blade through silk. The fifth destroyer's captain made a desperate decision. He turned his ship toward the colony, hoping to complete his mission even if it meant destruction. Maya intercepted him before he could fire a single shot. The sixth and final destroyer was alone, its escort fighters destroyed or fleeing. Its captain sent a surrender signal, but Maya was not interested in prisoners. The last destroyer joined its companions in death. The entire battle had lasted less than 20 minutes. 6 military destroyers and their escorts had been destroyed by a single fighter that looked like it was built from spare parts. Maya opened a comm channel to the colony. Administrator Bell, the threat has been neutralized. You can begin returning your people to their homes. Wildfire, I do not understand what just happened. Our sensors showed you fighting 6 destroyers alone. How is that possible? Sometimes you have to work with what you have, Maya replied. The colony is safe. That is what matters. As Maya flew back toward the station, she could hear the chatter. On the comm channels, word of the battle was spreading through the coalition fleet, and everyone wanted to know about the human pilot who had single-handedly defeated a marauder battle group. Maya's return to Station Omega-7 was unlike anything she had experienced before. As the wildfire approached the docking bay, she could see crowds of people gathered at the observation windows. Engineers, pilots, and station personnel all wanted to see the ship that had accomplished the impossible. The moment she landed, Maya was surrounded by officials. Squadron Leader Velther approached with a team of senior engineers and intelligence officers. His expression was a mixture of awe and concern. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, that was the most remarkable display of combat effectiveness I have ever witnessed, he said. However, your ship's capabilities raise serious questions that must be answered. Maya nodded as she shut down her systems. I understand, sir. I am ready to cooperate with any investigation. Chief Engineer Sarah Kim stepped forward. She was a short woman with sharp eyes and graying hair. We need to examine your ship immediately. The power readings we recorded are beyond our current understanding of physics. Of course, Maya replied, but I should warn you that some of the systems are sensitive. I will need to be present during the examination. The next 6 hours were unlike anything the station's engineers had ever experienced. As they opened access panels and studied the wildfire's internal systems, they discovered technology that challenged everything they thought they knew about starship design. The ship's power source was located in the center of the vessel, surrounded by layers of protective shielding. When the engineers finally gained access to it, they found something that should not have been possible. This is a controlled singularity, Chief Engineer Kim said, her voice filled with amazement. You have a miniature black hole contained within electromagnetic fields. Maya stood beside her, watching the engineers work. We call it a controlled singularity drive. It provides virtually unlimited power while maintaining a relatively small size. Dr. Marcus Webb, the station's chief physicist, leaned closer to examine the containment system. The energy requirements to maintain this kind of containment should be enormous. How do you prevent the singularity from collapsing or expanding? The containment field is self-sustaining, Maya explained. It uses the singularity's own energy to maintain stability. Once properly calibrated, it can run indefinitely. The engineers moved to examine the weapon systems next. What they found was equally revolutionary. The kinetic cannons that had destroyed the pirate ships were just the beginning. Hidden within the ship's structure were energy weapons that tapped directly into the singularity drive. These energy projectors, Chief Engineer Kim said, studying the focusing arrays, they are channeling raw gravitational forces. That is why they cut through shields so easily. Standard defensive systems are designed to stop energy and particles, not space-time distortions. Maya nodded. The weapons use controlled gravitational manipulation to create focused energy beams. They are effective against any type of shielding or armor. Captain Nexver, who had been watching the examination in silence, finally spoke. Why have humans kept this technology secret? Ships like this could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Maya looked at him thoughtfully. That is exactly why we have been careful about revealing it. Humans learned long ago that being underestimated can be an advantage. Sub-Commander Quell approached the group, her crystalline form reflecting the workshop lights. You speak as if this technology is widespread among humans. Is that true? Not widespread, Maya replied, but not unique either. Human engineers have been developing advanced systems out of necessity. When you are facing hostile forces with limited resources, you learn to think creatively. Dr. Webb was studying the ship's defensive systems. These temporal shielding units, they are manipulating time itself around the ship. That explains how you're able to dodge enemy fire so effectively. The shields create small temporal distortions, Maya confirmed. Incoming projectiles are slowed down while the ship maintains normal time flow. It gives us extra reaction time in combat. Grixtar had been unusually quiet during the examination. Finally, he approached Maya with a serious expression. I owe you an apology. I judged you and your people unfairly. This technology is beyond anything my species has achieved. Maya smiled. No apology necessary. Humans have been judged by our appearances for centuries. We have learned to use those assumptions to our advantage. The examination continued for another 4 hours. The engineers discovered cloaking systems that bent space-time around the ship, making it invisible to most sensors. They found propulsion, systems that could accelerate the vessel to speeds that rivaled the fastest ships in the galaxy. Every system they examined revealed new levels of sophistication. The question remains, Squadron Leader Velther said, as the examination concluded, why reveal this technology now? You could have continued your deception indefinitely. Maya considered his words carefully. Because the galaxy is changing. The threats we face are growing stronger and more numerous. Humans believe it is time to show our true capabilities and work together with our allies. Chief Engineer Kim was reviewing the technical specifications. The implications of this technology are staggering. If humans can share even part of this knowledge, it could revolutionize our entire fleet. That would depend on the Coalition's willingness to treat humans as true partners rather than junior members. Maya replied, we have much to offer, but we need to be respected for our contributions. Dr. Webb looked up from his calculations. The power output from your singularity drive is equivalent to a small star. How many ships like this do humans possess? Maya smiled mysteriously. Enough to make a difference when it matters. The interrogation continued in the squadron office. Intelligence officers asked detailed questions about human military capabilities, technology development, and strategic planning. Maya answered what she could while protecting sensitive information. The outer colonies where you served, Captain Nexfer said. They were testing grounds for new technology, were they not? Partially, Maya admitted. When you are facing unknown threats with limited support, you either innovate or die. The colonies became laboratories for developing new approaches to combat and survival. Sub-Commander Quell was fascinated by the technical aspects. Your species has achieved technological advancement through necessity rather than gradual development. It is an unusual approach. Humans have always been good at solving problems when our backs are against the wall, Maya replied. Give us an impossible situation, and we will find a way to make it work. As the debriefing continued, word of Maya's revelations spread throughout the station. The news that humans possessed such advanced technology sent shockwaves through the Coalition military. Some saw it as a betrayal of trust, while others viewed it as a hopeful development. Admiral Janet Foster, the Coalition's regional commander, arrived at the station 12 hours after Maya's return. The Admiral was a tall woman with silver hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. She met with Maya privately in the station's secure conference room. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez, what you have revealed changes everything we thought we knew about human capabilities, the Admiral said. The question now is what humans want in return for sharing this technology. Maya met her gaze steadily. Respect and partnership. For too long, humans have been treated as the junior species in the coalition. We have proven that we can contribute as equals. And if the coalition refuses to accept humans as equals, then humans will continue to defend themselves as they always have, with or without official support. Admiral Foster nodded slowly. I see. And this ship of yours, it represents standard human military capability? It represents what humans can achieve when we put our minds to it, Maya replied carefully. Every human colony has faced unique challenges. We have learned to adapt and overcome. The Admiral studied the technical reports from the examination. According to these specifications, your ship could single-handedly defeat most coalition battle groups. How many similar vessels do humans possess? Enough to defend human space, Maya said. We have never been interested in conquest, only in protecting our people and our allies. And your people would be willing to share this technology with the coalition? Under the right circumstances, yes. But it would require changes in how humans are treated within the coalition structure. Admiral Foster leaned back in her chair. What kind of changes? Full representation in coalition command structure. Access to restricted technology databases. Recognition that human space is equal territory, not a protectorate. Maya paused. And most importantly, acknowledgement that humans have been holding back our true capabilities out of caution, not inability. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. You realize that some species will see this as a threat. They will wonder what other secrets humans have been keeping. That is their choice, Maya replied. We have always been honest about our intentions. We want to protect the innocent and fight against those who would harm the peaceful worlds of the galaxy. And if some coalition members decide that humans have become too dangerous to trust, Maya's expression grew serious. Then they will discover that humans are very good at defending themselves. We have survived every challenge the galaxy has thrown at us. We will survive whatever comes next. The meeting continued for another hour. Admiral F. 3 weeks after the revelation about Maya's ship, the galaxy received news that would test everything the coalition had learned about human capabilities. Long-range sensors detected a massive fleet moving toward the core worlds, unlike anything seen before in galactic history. The enemy force consisted of over 200 ships, including battleships the size of small moons. They belonged to the Void Syndicate, a collection of hostile species that had been building their strength in the unknown regions for decades. Their goal was simple: destroy the coalition and claim the galaxy for themselves. Maya stood in the Aya, main briefing room of Station Omega-7, surrounded by officers from dozens of species. The tactical display showed the approaching threat, and the numbers were terrifying. The entire coalition fleet combined had fewer than 150 ships capable of fighting such a force. Admiral Foster addressed the assembled officers. The Void Syndicate will reach the Alta system in 72 hours. That system contains 4 billion inhabitants across 12 worlds. We cannot evacuate them in time. General Thokran, the Corvani leader who had questioned Maya's loyalty, looked grim. Our conventional forces cannot stop a fleet that size. Even with our best ships and tactics, we would be overwhelmed. Captain Dexver stepped forward. What about the new human ships? If Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez's vessel is representative of human capabilities, perhaps a small force of such ships could make a difference. All eyes turned to Maya. She had been expecting this moment ever since her secret was revealed. Sir, I would need to contact my superiors. The deployment of additional human ships would require authorization from Earth Command. Admiral Foster nodded. Make the call, Lieutenant Commander. We need to know what options we have. Maya activated the secure communication system and established Contact with Admiral Lisa Chun, the commander of Earth's Defense Force. The conversation was brief but intense. Admiral, the Coalition is facing a threat that could destroy billions of lives. We need to know if Earth is prepared to reveal more of our capabilities. Admiral Chun's image on the screen was serious. Maya, the Council has been watching the situation develop. We have been preparing for this moment for years. How many ships do you estimate we would need? Maya looked at the tactical display. At least 20 vessels with capabilities similar to the Wildfire. Maybe more, depending on the enemy's true strength. You will have 30 ships, including the prototype vessels we have been testing. Captain Rodriguez, you are hereby promoted to Commodore and given command of the first human strike fleet. The transmission ended, leaving the briefing room in stunned silence. Maya had just been promoted and given command of a fleet that might be humanity's greatest. Military Secret Squadron Leader Velther was the first to speak. Commodore Rodriguez, how long will it take for your fleet to arrive? 18 hours. Maya replied. They have been positioned in nearby systems, waiting for authorization to deploy. The next day, Maya stood on the observation deck of Station Omega-7 as her fleet arrived. The ships that emerged from hyperspace were unlike anything the Coalition had seen before. Each vessel was unique, but all shared the same rough, practical appearance that marked human engineering. The flagship was called the Defiant, a massive vessel that looked like it had been built from the wreckage of a dozen different ships. Its hull was covered in weapon ports and sensor arrays, and its engines glowed with the same mysterious energy that powered the Wildfire. Captain Jake Sullivan, the Defiant's commander, met with Maya and the Coalition officers. He was a tall man, with graying hair and scars that told stories of battles in the outer colonies. Commodore Rodriguez, the fleet is ready for deployment. We have been tracking the Void Syndicate for months, waiting for them to make their move. Maya nodded. Captain, I want you to coordinate with the Coalition forces. We will need their support for this to work. Sub-Commander Quell studied the technical specifications of the human fleet. These ships are even more advanced than the Wildfire. How is that possible? Captain Sullivan smiled grimly. Each colony world faces different challenges. We have learned to adapt our technology to meet specific needs. The result is a fleet where no two ships are exactly alike, but all are deadly effective. The battle plan was complex but elegant. The human ships would engage the main enemy fleet, while Coalition forces protected the civilian worlds and provided support. Maya would lead the strike force directly at the enemy flagship, hoping to disrupt their command structure. The Void Syndicate fleet arrived in the Alta system exactly on schedule. Their ships spread out in a formation designed to maximize destruction, while minimizing their own losses. They expected to face the standard Coalition fleet and crush it through sheer numbers. Instead, they encountered something they had never seen before. 30 human ships materialized from hyperspace, their unusual designs and energy signatures confusing the enemy sensors. The Void Syndicate commanders hesitated, unsure of what they were facing. Maya opened a comm channel to her fleet. All ships. This is Commodore Rodriguez. Today we fight not just for humanity, but for every peaceful world in the galaxy. Show them what human determination can accomplish. The battle began with a display of human technology that left both enemies and allies amazed. The human ships moved with incredible speed and agility, their weapon systems unleashing destruction that defied conventional physics. The Thunderstrike used kinetic weapons that fired projectiles at near-light speed, punching through enemy shields like they were made of paper. The Stormcaller generated artificial lightning that arced between enemy ships, overloading their systems and leaving them helpless. Maya's own ship, the Wildfire, had been upgraded with new systems developed specifically for this battle. Her singularity drive now powered weapons that could create temporary black holes, sucking enemy ships into oblivion. Her temporal shields had been enhanced to provide protection for nearby Allied vessels. The enemy fleet, despite its massive size, found itself unable to cope with human tactics. The Void Syndicate had prepared for conventional warfare, not the chaotic and unpredictable combat style that humans had developed. Captain Thexva, flying alongside the human fleet in his upgraded Zephyrian fighter, watched in amazement as Maya's ship single-handedly engaged 3 enemy battleships. "How is she doing that?" he asked over the comm. "Human ships are designed for individual initiative," Captain Saladin explained. "Our crews train to fight alone if necessary, but work together when possible. It makes us unpredictable." The battle raged for 6 hours. Enemy ships that had seemed invincible were destroyed by weapons they could not understand. The Void Syndicate's formation collapsed as their commanders struggled to adapt to human tactics. Maya led her strike force directly at the enemy flagship, a massive vessel called the Dominion of Darkness. The ship was protected by dozens of escorts and the most advanced shields the Void Syndicate could deploy. It should have been invulnerable. Instead, Maya's fleet tore through the defenses like a blade through silk. The Wildfire's new weapons created spatial distortions that bypassed the enemy shields entirely. The Defiant used gravitational manipulation to crush escort ships like empty cans. The enemy flagship's commander, a being called the Dark Admiral, sent a final transmission before his ship was destroyed. "What are you? Your technology is beyond anything we have encountered." Maya's response was broadcast to the entire battlefield. "We are humans. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We fight for justice and peace. And we never give up." The Dark Admiral's ship exploded in a blast that lit up the entire system. With their command structure destroyed, the remaining Void Syndicate ships fled in panic. The greatest threat the galaxy had faced in centuries had been defeated by a small force of human ships. In the aftermath of the battle, the coalition worlds celebrated humanity's victory. The species that had once laughed at human capabilities now spoke of them with deep respect. Maya found herself promoted again, this time to Admiral, and given command of a joint human-alien fleet. The integration process was not always smooth. Some species remained suspicious of human motives, while others wanted to copy human technology without understanding its principles. But gradually, the galaxy began to change. Human colonies were granted full membership in the coalition, with representation equal to any other species. Human technology was shared with trusted allies, leading to breakthroughs in defense and exploration. Most importantly, humans were no longer underestimated. Maya returned to Station Omega-7 as its new commander, overseeing the integration of human and alien forces. The squadron that had once treated her as a liability now served under her command, and they had learned to value the unique perspectives that humans brought to the Alliance. Captain Dexver, now promoted to Major, served as her second-in-command. "I have been thinking about our first meeting," he said one day as they reviewed patrol reports. "I was so certain that humans were inferior. How wrong I was." Maya smiled. "You were not wrong about everything. Humans did have a lot to learn about galactic warfare, but we also had things to teach. The best results come when different species work together." Sub-Commander Quell had become the station's chief technology officer, leading teams that combined human innovation with alien E.